Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, so would everybody please rise. And Councilman Schneider, would you lead us this evening?
Be my honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you please remain standing for a moment of silence and reflect upon the sacrifices that our uniformed men and women in our armed forces, as well as our first responders on both the law enforcement side and fire and EMS side make, keeping our families and our lifestyle safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all at home for watching this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Today's date is Wednesday, August 16th, 2017, and tonight's Town Board meeting is a Town Board work session. And for the record, all board members are present with the exception of Councilman Lupinacci, who has a family obligation this evening and was not able to attend. With us, we have our town council, Greg Fulchetti, all the way down to my left. And in the audience, we have our town highway superintendent, Mike Simone, and Mary Ann Maxwell, the town controller, will be here, as well as the town engineer, to handle a couple of items that they have on the agenda tonight. Mike Simone has one. So let's get started. The first item is the review of the town board minutes of July 19th and August 9th, 2017. Unless any town board members have any comments on the minutes, we're going to move on. First item on the agenda is Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps. This is to consider authorizing a renewal of a contract for 2017. And town board, you have in your backup the proposed contract for Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps. This was reviewed by Town's Counsel Brad Pinsky, as well as the Carmel Ambulance Corps attorney Frank Simeone, and they both advised their, actually Frank Simeone advised their client, Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps, to go ahead and sign the contract, the agreement, that it was fine, and they did in fact sign it. So before I can endorse it and sign off on it, the town board would have to approve the draft of the contract. So this has been worked on for quite a few months now, and they have agreed to the terms of the new contract. So town board, I believe you've had an opportunity to review the contract as well as the attorneys and the client, Carmel Ambulance Corps. And at this time, I'm going to ask the town board if they're okay with moving forward with executing the agreement for 2017 with the Carmel Ambulance Corps. Town board?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't see
Any
change.
questions, comments, concerns,
No
Susie?
changes.
No.
There's no changes. It was, this was the draft that we looked at. Yeah. Okay? All right. So Greg, if you can prepare a resolution for, is it the 9th? When do we meet again? The 6th? 6th.
7th.
Yeah.
6th, you're right.
Yep, the 6th. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda, Glenn Josie, the town assessor. This is to consider a request to attend the New York State ORPS, Office of Real Property Services, approved agriculture assessment workshop. This is on September 12th, 2017 at the Dutchess County Farm and Home Center on Route 44 in Millbrook, New York. There is no charge for the seminar, and there's backup here from Assessor Drozy asking permission to attend that. Again, it's September 12th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it's an approved workshop by the Office of Real Property Services, and I recommend that the town assessor attend this agriculture assessment workshop. I think it'll be good for him to have a better understanding and knowledge of how agricultural assessments are funded.
Yeah, I think also, I mean, that presently we don't have too many properties at all in the town that exist, from what I understand from our reassessment rule, but I also am under the impression that there are people who are going to be applying in the future for agriculture, so it's definitely good to give him that knowledge under his belt.
Yeah, you're right, Jonathan. There's actually one that I'm aware of that has already reached out to the assessor and make an inquiry about it, how their property can become an agricultural property. So it would actually have farm status.
Which it means that there's a different way that we tax, which means
Yes.
it will change the way that everybody has their taxes paid.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So,
So definitely important for him to get all this knowledge.
yes, exactly. Okay? Any questions, comments, concerns about the assessor's request to attend that workshop? Okay, there being none, we're going to go to number 3 on the agenda, Town Justice Joe Spofford for Justice Court. This is to consider request to attend a conference for the New York State Magistrates Association. This is October 15th through the 18th, 2017. It's in Verona, New York, and New York State picks up the portion of the cost. So Town Justice Spofford would like to attend this conference, and it's paid for by the New York State courts for him to attend that.
And this is in his budget, right?
It's in his budget, yeah. It's in his budget, and it'll be reimbursed, actually, by the courts.
Kidding.
The New York State will pick up the portion of that, picks up portion of the cost. So there is money budgeted in the 2017 budget. I'm just not sure what portion New York State's going to pick up. They may pick up the full cost, but if not, there's money budgeted for it. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns about Judge Spofford attending the conference in Verona, New York? October 15th through the 18th? Okay. All right, next item, number 4, Mike Simone, Carmel Highway Superintendent. This is to consider request to advertise for bids for winter mix, sand, and guide rails. There's a memo here from the Highway Superintendent that he's requesting the following items be advertised for. This is standard. We do this every year around this time. This is for the winter mix, the sand, and guide rail for the Highway Department. Yeah, Mike, did you want to come up, or did I cover it? Come on up. Sorry.
This is on. Yes, you've covered it. And the optimal word is consider. I wish I could consider winter.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's probably going to be here, so.
Yeah, it will. A few months from now, maybe.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Any questions, comments, concerns for the Highway Superintendent for the going out to bid for the winter mix, winter products? Susie?
No.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Number 5, Supervisor Ken Schmidt, consider request to declare old town vehicles obsolete and authorize the disposal of same. We have 2 vehicles that have reached the maximum useful life for the town of Carmel. They're no longer in mechanical running condition, and their bodies on them are rusting. And the town mechanic that services these vehicles and also inspects them per New York State has indicated that these vehicles will no longer pass inspection. So they're no longer useful for the town of Carmel, so we do have to go through the motions of declaring them obsolete and authorizing the disposal of them. So the first vehicle is a 2004 Ford Focus. VIN number is 1FAFP33Z24W166837. And the second vehicle is a 2005 Ford Crown Victoria, 2FP71W95X160667. So any questions, comments, concerns about disposing of these no longer useful vehicles for the town? Frank?
No.
Susie? Okay. All right. All right, number 6, letter from Commissioner Anthony Sutton, Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services. This to consider request to extend benefit coverage to certain members of the Mahopac Falls Volunteer Fire Department, Carmel Volunteer Fire Department, Carmel Fire District, and Carmel Fire Department, who are part of the Putnam County Technical Response Team. So there's a letter here from Commissioner Sutton. Putnam County has established a technical rescue team. The membership of this and other county teams is comprised almost exclusively of firefighters from local fire departments across Putnam County. If you recall, I contacted you last year to request the Carmel Town Board formally extend benefits to firefighters from the Carmel Fire Department and the Mahopac Falls and Mahopac Volunteer Fire Departments who were serving on county special teams. You and other officials were kind enough to shepherd the process, and we're able to continue the county's hazmat team, fire police team, and the fire investigation team. I am writing today to request that the Carmel Town Board extend the same coverage to the individuals of the Carmel Fire Department, Mahopac Fire Department, Mahopac Falls Fire Department, listed on the attached, who want to become members of the county's technical response team, emergency rescue team. Without your partnership in covering your firefighters as they serve on the county teams, we'd be unable to provide the specialized services as they deliver all the communities in Putnam County. I thank you for your consideration of this request, and thank you for your continued support of the emergency preparedness efforts. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions. Anthony Sutton, Commissioner. And the members are from the Carmel Fire Department, Dave DeRenzo, Alyssa Lipton, Charles Arbory, Stephen Rivera, Tom Keck Jr. Proposed NAPEC FD-TR team members, there are none at this time. Proposed Mahopac Falls FD Technical Response or Rescue Team members, Robert Lopriano, Thomas Lopriano, Dan Murray, Christopher Tompkins, Robert Dwyer, Brendan Dwyer, and Brian Ward. So the technical response rescue team is essentially if there's somebody stranded that's climbing or hiking any of the hills in Putnam County, mostly over on the west side of the county. They have Breakneck Mountain over there, and there's a couple other places where if they become trapped on the mountain.
Ninum.
Or Ninum, Mount Ninum as well. If the hiker becomes injured or trapped, the technical rescue team will be deployed, and they will assist in getting the climber out, getting them down. It's rope, basically it's rope rescue, rappelling, and things like that in order to effectuate the rescue. So they just need to add these members to that team. It's a newly created team, so it's part. All right, is there any questions, comments regarding the technical rescue team? Response
Kenny,
team?
just, if other members wanted to join,
Mm-hmm.
will we have to do another resolution adding them, or these ones drop off of it? Do we have
I
to
think
do
that the way you
that?
did the prior resolutions, you named the current members of the team so that the coverage was extended to them. And they're supposed to notify you when there's additions or deletions, and we handle it that way. We did it in October of
Yeah, we
2016
did it.
for the arson
Okay.
investigation team, right, the
Yeah.
hazmat team, fire police. So we'll do it in the same format, which I think specifically authorized the current members of the team, so the coverage is extended to them.
Okay, so these members are going to be listed on your resolution?
It should be, yes.
Okay. So if any are deleted, we'll have to do it in the same fashion that we do it.
So maybe either every 6 months or every year,
Yeah,
we just ask for an updated list, just to make sure that no one was added that may not have coverage.
Yeah.
It's over here.
where is it?
No,
Oh, you,
it's
oh,
over
all
here,
right.
yeah.
All right.
That no one was added,
Yeah.
that, because I just want to make sure that everyone has coverage.
Yep.
Or if they dropped off, that they're not covered anymore
Okay.
with it. So maybe if we can just ask the county, either six months or every year, once a year, just give us an update on who's actually on the teams.
Okay. All right,
Just a
good point.
thought.
Yep, good point, Sue. All right, thanks. Any questions down here on this side? Jonathan, Frank?
No.
No? Okay. All right, number 7 on the agenda, Rich Franzetti, PE, Town Engineer. This consider request to advertise for bids for the water main lining in Carmel Water District Number 2. Rich, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So the board should be made aware that the engineering department has received numerous complaints from residents in Carmel Water District 2 regarding discolored water. These complaints are in the area of Glenida Ridge Road, Glenview Drive North, Sunset Ridge, Collier Drive East, Collier Drive West, Ridge Court, Lakeview Road, and Avery Road. There's documentation of the complaints that was provided to board members. We've met with the Carmel Water District 2 operators relative to these complaints by the residents, and based on the meetings and the complaints which have been received today, it's requested that the town board authorize the engineering department to prepare the necessary engineering report, plans and specifications to go out for bid. The project will consist of lining of about 25,000 linear feet of water mains located on the aforementioned roads.
Rich, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
how old is that water main?
The main is probably, I don't know, 60, 70 years old, in that ballpark. It's fairly old.
New Year's Eve,
And
what,
Rich-
1939 or something?
What's that?
It's like
1930.
1939, is that what
And the main is cast iron?
Yes, ductile
just-
cast iron,
So it's closing?
6-inch line.
Yeah, just explain what's happening to the
Where's it
line.
called?
So what's happening with the line is you can,
Tuberculation.
it's called tuberculation. It's you can akin it to a hardened artery, right? The pipe has a sediment deposition that's occurring because the water in the pipe, it's an unlined metal pipe, iron pipe. The rust has settled at the bottom, thus creating this layer, that's a tuberculated layer that's in the pipe. And when we flush water or there's either a drop or an excessive use of water, it will run some of that rust-colored water into these homes.
Through the pipe and out. Okay. All right,
Rich,
How-
when we, I'm sorry,
No,
when
okay.
we did, over here, Country Lane and
Country
stuff?
Lane.
Yeah, how old, remember how old, was that 60, 70 years old as well?
I don't know how old the Carmel Water 8 pipes were.
They were older. It was older.
They were probably older than.
In the
60s?
60s?
Oh, okay.
So Rich, is this every day that this happens, or only
No,
when you
it
find, only when
typically,
it gets
this is
flushed?
sorry, I cut you off.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
this is the time of year it normally happens. It normally, for some reason, the warmer weather, end of July through early September is when it will occur the most. It has to probably just do with the environmental temperature. You know, when it gets a little warmer, something happens with the lines. But it will happen when we do our flushing, which we do in April and October. You will see some of that, but not quite as bad as that.
What is the, because I'm just wondering, we have to definitely address water quality for residents. So is this going to be the most cost-effective long-term solution, or is this going to be in need of a full repair of the main going through because of the age of the system in the future? And if so, then what's the life expectancy for the lining that we're going to do to make sure that we're going to at least make a prudent investment for the long term?
I don't know the life expectancy of the lining, so I'll answer that question first. It is the most prudent. The one way to do it is to rip out all the lines, put all new lines in, which is probably not the most cost-effective.
Right.
Mike wouldn't like that because we rip up 90% of his roads in those areas.
Right.
So it's cost-effective in the sense of what we'll do is you turn off the main, you provide temporary water to the residents, you go in and you pig out the line, which is basically scraping the inside, getting that tuberculation out of the way. You have to then sanitize the line. Oh, sorry, they take that back. You put this concrete liner in there, so then you can't get the rust happening anymore. Then you sanitize the line, then you recharge it, and you're able to have it to the folks.
You just said a concrete liner in there?
Yeah, it'll be concrete.
Okay. I mean, so it sounds like it's going to be more of a long-term solution. It's not like 5 years and we're done.
No, it should
This
be.
is good.
It's a long-term solution.
Okay. I appreciate you looking into that for me. Thank you.
No problem.
Sewer and sewer one,
I was gonna say, it's like what we're doing down here.
similar. I think you can ask
Okay.
it, but I think it is similar.
Is everything good?
That was a poly line.
Great, yep, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so, Rich, I'm sorry.
Yes,
So, can the engineering department and the operator do like an assessment or an evaluation of the systems up in that area? If you said it, I apologize, to see if there's any other areas that may need to be lined. So if there are, maybe from an economy of scale, we may want to do that section if there's a concern where, rather than going back a year or two from now and having the contractor come back, can you just do like an evaluation or an assessment of the systems up there to see if there are any other areas that need to be done? We may want to do them at the same time if there are, rather than, restage 2 years from now to do the same thing. It might be cheaper to do it now as opposed to.
We will do that. We've asked, these are the typical areas that we've had the complaints. I've asked the operators to go out and look and confirm that, but we'll look and see if there's any other of these type of pipes in the area, and go with it from there. So, yeah,
Okay.
we'll include that in and move forward.
All
I'll
right.
let the board
Yep.
know that.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is number 8, Mary Ann Maxwell, Town Controller. She's here, Mary Ann's here for 8 and 9. The first item, number 8, is to consider year-end 2016 LoSAP, Length of Service Award Program annual reports for the Carmel Fire Protection Districts 1 and 2 and Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Mary Ann?
Good evening. This is to consider accepting the 2016 annual reports for the Town of Carmel Service Awards. Back in November of 2016, the town entered into a trust agreement with Glens Falls National Bank to be the trustee of the assets for the Carmel Fire Protection Districts 1 and 2. Glens Falls National Bank is now the custodian of the trust assets, and they've assumed responsibility for paying the program benefits. At the same time, the town transferred the assets of the Carmel Fire Protection District Number 3 program to the Carmel Fire District. These assets are now held under the tax ID number of the Carmel Fire District, and the town has no further responsibility for this program. Just wanted to bring everybody up to speed with that, since, we used to have the Carmel Fire Protection District Number 3 under our control as well, but that we no longer have that. The Carmel Fire District is a sponsor and will manage the administration of that program. So the benefits accrued in the Carmel Fire Protection District Number 3 are no longer a liability to the town. The 2017 recommended contributions for the Carmel Fire Protection Districts Number 1 and 2. Number 1 is $200,000, and number 2 is $215,000. So I'm going to be asking for a resolution accepting these reports and authorizing the town to pay that contribution. In the 2018 budget, the PenFlex, who prepares these reports, is recommending that we contribute the same amount. I may look at that budget and maybe increase that a little bit, just to get that funding ratio up there. Jonathan, I can talk to you a little bit more about that, to see if that's
Yeah,
good
the
way
way
to
I
go.
see it right now, and if you want me to wait until you're done,
No, that's okay, yeah.
because I did have some thoughts. Just looking at it, it's unfortunate that while we continue to see our general reserve increase year after year from at least the past 5-year standpoint, we've had a negative outlook or a neutral outlook taken off of us from Moody's in our rating for our credit worthiness. And we have great accolades spoken every year about what we're doing, but year after year, we seem to be at the same funding ratio. And I'm almost like at the point where we're $1.3 million underfunded on these two.
Right.
At what point do we say, you know what, to bring it up to the values that it needs to be? Are we,
Well, I
I'm not
think a
saying we
lot
take
of
out
it-
1.3 million, but I think we need to do something, and I think that it's going to require a transfer from our general to really do super funding for a few years to try to get it to where it's 100% funded. Because these are our volunteers. These are the men and women that are coming out at 3 in the morning to help our neighbors, our mothers, our sisters, whatever, from elderly to our kids to whatever's needed. That's the people who are volunteering. We should be covering them, I think. And I guess this is really more of a discussion that you and I can have, and then
Yeah,
bring maybe a
we can have
recommendation
that.
to the board.
I think we were investing with RBC, and we've transferred that over to Glens Falls now.
Which was a
So
great move.
Yeah, so I
think.
think the way Glens, RBC was investing the money, wasn't, I don't think it was, beneficial, So when we met with Glens Falls back in February, I think it was.
Yeah, no, I know, but
Now
I'm also
they're-
jumping the gun because I look at number 9 and I know what the return on our investment is so far.
Exactly,
So I
yeah.
think we got to
So-
do a bit more than.
Yeah, so I think I'd like to see more like of
Sorry
a
about that.
9-month to a 12-month with Glens Falls before we make any move transferring money from the general fund.
But knowing that that's on the back burner.
Yeah,
for-
because I did talk to Russ, who's from Glens Falls, and I talked to him about the funding ratio
Okay.
being so low. If you look at the last page in these packages, you can see how the funding ratio went down. In 2012 was 92%, 2013 was 90, it went down to 88, 77, and now 75. So it definitely has gone down over the last 5 years, but I think us making the move, transferring the assets to Glens
Definitely.
Falls, and also adopting that different investment policy. Now we're investing 60% in the equities, 60/40.
Right, from where we were in, everything was fixed for
Most of it
5
was
years when we
fixed.
had all this growth in the
Exactly.
market.
Exactly, and the fixed income, I just don't think it was giving us the return.
No, but now that we're unfortunately at the point that we're at, and we're at these values, we I think, have to make that decision about, within, like you said, the next 6 months, what we're going to do
Right,
for it going forward.
exactly. And Russ from Glens Falls said he would come in like October, November, talk to
That's
us
perfect.
about how we're investing, how it's doing. I did ask him for 6 months, which I'll go over in the next item.
Do you think maybe we're taking off the next couple weeks, is that right, from meetings?
Yes.
Do you think maybe he'd be able to come down sometime that would work in our schedule, and maybe before we do a resolution for funding on PenFlex, we can talk to him about a possible, what we may need to do to overfund, so that we can do that in the resolution, we don't have to worry about doing things in the future.
We could do that, yeah. I mean, we could do that.
See if he presently thinks
Or
that
we
it's the
can
right thing.
look into doing that for 2018. I could talk to him about it.
The-
You're saying the contribution for 2017 before we
Yeah,
pay
and
it?
one of the main reasons that I'm really concerned is I don't see the market continuing down the path that it's been going for 5 years, and I'm worried that we've already doubled what our deficit is from where it was 5 years ago.
Right.
We're at 1.3 million on these two, on total assets that are just over $6.2 million. I think we really need to
Yeah.
look at what we're going to do
Well, the
presently for it
6.2
instead of waiting another year
The
for
6.2
it.
had the 3 fire districts. Now we
Uh,
got,
No, so I'm sorry, 6.2 is what it's supposed to be at, 2.8 for
Oh,
Fire
the
District 1.
6.2, okay, I see what you're saying,
And then
yeah,
3.4, we'll say, for Fire District 2.
Okay, yeah.
And we're under by 1.3, so to me, it's a pretty big thing that I think that we should address presently, and we should definitely talk with our advisor about it, who runs the policy, talk about the 6 months, and I think that we should talk about really looking at doing some move, because again, it's our first responders, we have the reserves.
Of course,
We've
yeah.
built it up, and we got our credit rating where we want it to be, we got the remarks that we want to be, and comments from our rating agency, and I think that we should look at doing what we, unfortunately, and I take a lot of heat on it myself, unfortunately, we haven't done it for the past 5 years, so I'd like to really, if you can let me know in the next couple of weeks, if you guys are okay with that, we'll look at what we should do and what their recommendations are, and we'll talk about it as well, we'll send out information, so we all have some information to digest before we make a resolution on it.
Okay, yeah,
I appreciate that, thank you.
that sounds good.
All right, Jonathan, so you'll work with Mary Ann? and,
Yeah,
We'll see if
we'll
we can
talk
get
after the
together
meeting
with him,
tonight, if you
yeah.
don't mind.
Okay.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
if he'll
All
come
right.
down, or we could just
And
chat
then,
over
yeah,
the
and we'll,
phone.
I mean, even conference calls, and we'll keep emails going so everybody's in the loop on what's going on.
Okay.
All right,
Great,
thank you.
thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mary Ann.
Yep. With the Carmel ambulance, that funding ratio actually is 105%. That's the other folder that you have there. Now, that funding ratio dips slightly because of the mortality table, but it's still a very healthy funded program. The trust funds invested are also managed by Glens Falls National Bank. They're with a contract with the Office of the State Comptroller. And Jonathan, I don't know if you remember that when we did talk to them, the way they invest their money in this program is how we are now
Modeled it
investing.
after now when we
Exactly,
started on the
modeled it
change, yep.
after the way the Carmel Ambulance is doing it. You know, the way they're doing it with this pool. So I'm hoping that, you know, ours starts taking
I
on.
think it was definitely the right
bigger.
move for going forward, and now it's just a matter of remedying what has happened in the past, because
Right.
unfortunately, I feel like, you know, I didn't bring this up before and try to act on it for the past few years.
Right. So, but this fund is healthy. It's 105% funded, so that's.
No, so I think that definitely you helped make the right decision with switching over to RBC, and thank you for staying on top of
Yep,
it.
yep. So, okay, all right, so we'll touch base then.
Okay. Mary Ann, did you just cover 9 also, Mary
No,
Ann?
I just covered
Okay.
8. So
All right.
9 is the 6-month, that's this investment proposal, presentation here that was prepared by Glens Falls National Bank. If you look at page 2 of 8, this shows how the funds are invested, and 61.2% is invested with equity, and that, the rest of it is with fixed income, alternative, and cash. The alternative, when speaking to Ross, is in preferred stock. The 2.9% in cash you have to keep around a 2 to 4% in cash because of the distributions that come out, to pay the volunteer firemen. So you do have to have some cash. The bottom of page 2 and the top of page 3, just break it out a little bit more, and what type of investments they have it in. On page 4, you'll see the graphs that show in November is when we open the accounts with Glens Falls, so it shows, the portfolio growth. And we haven't made contributions yet, which is what Jonathan and I were just talking about when we make the resolution to pay Glens Falls, and you'll see that bar go up even more, because you'll see the growth in the amount invested. So you'll see in the 6-month, on the bottom of page 4, you'll see the 6-month return, and the total fund is 5.36 with a benchmark of 5.14. So we are a little bit above the weighted index, the benchmark. And this is from February through July. We adopted the new investment policy in February, and then, so this has been a 6-month history. So I'm hoping that this continues, over the next 3 to 6 months. Page 5 shows the graphs, it's a bar graph just showing the 6 months of the fund performance. And page 6, you see the year-to-date funded performance is 5.61, and the weighted index is 5.39. So we are above the weighted index. So I think this is definitely an improvement from where we were with RBC, when a lot of things were invested in more fixed income. This is a little bit more of a,
I think
the
it's-
equity,
Yeah,
so,
a threefold return, I think, almost from what I remember us getting. I mean,
absolutely,
we were
yeah.
getting
Yep, yeah,
very low rate of return for a long time.
right, exactly. So I think it's headed in the right direction. It is up $65,000 from January, or from February. The fund is
Got a
up.
great market to work with, but at least we're
Exactly.
exposed to that. If we were still stuck in the old
We were stuck with
policy
an
that
old
we had,
investment.
we wouldn't be seeing any
Exactly.
return like this.
No, no,
So,
so,
thank you again. Can't say it enough.
so that's pretty much it then,
All right.
okay? Any
Mary Ann,
questions?
the Town of Carmel Ambulance District Volunteer Ambulance Service Award beneficiary forms needed, and they list about 12 or 14 members here. Is there a reason why that we received this, or is this just copies of what, do we have to follow up on this to?
No, that's just part of no, we don't have to
Part of the
follow up on it.
packet?
Part-
So-
Just part of the packet, yeah.
So the leadership at Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps, the administrators of it, they've gotten this?
Yes,
Because these members here haven't filled out this form yet, this beneficiary form. So do we have to, should we remind them to make sure that they have their membership fill that out?
I will look into it.
I think if,
There's a list of names here that they gave us
if,
or added.
if you could reach out to the districts that they're
Yeah.
in, I think that it would be a good thing just for, God forbid something happens to them, at least their beneficiaries are listed and don't have to worry about anything going forward. So
Okay, yep.
at least we have the list, let the districts handle it at their level, and
Yeah, otherwise it'll take years. If, God forbid, if there wasn't,
court systems, and yeah, it could be bad. It could,
all right.
it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
worth
I
it.
see what you're talking about, okay.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
Yeah,
They gave us the list, but I'm wondering, did they get this
Fill in
also?
beneficiaries.
Are
okay.
they aware of that?
You know,
So,
you know.
so either you,
I
Mary
think
Ann,
they
either
do
you-
get this, but I will follow up with them.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
sure,
If-
yep,
If you need a contact name, a contact person, I can give you that,
okay.
unless you have it. Do you have their?
I think I do, but
Okay.
I'll check in with you
All
tomorrow
right.
and make sure we
Yeah,
have the right
just, I
person.
think just as an FYI to remind them that, hey, you gotta, your members have to fill this out.
Yep, absolutely. And there's a beneficiary designation form here, too, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay,
All right?
yep, will do.
Okay, thanks, Mary Ann.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, last item on the agenda, Pat Cleary. He's the Town of Carmel planning consultant. And Mike Kernaz is here also, our building codes enforcement officer. Pat is here to present to the board to consider a proposed ordinance regarding wireless telecommunication equipment. This ordinance is regarding, again, the cell towers, the cell communication equipment that we've noticed that we've been seeing more and more of on commercial buildings in the town. And we just don't have an ordinance to regulate this equipment or the communication companies that are requesting to install this equipment. So we felt that, it would be important that we probably do have some type of ordinance or town code with respect to how they can install them on commercial buildings and things like that. So Pat, if you just want to bring us through the proposed ordinance that you drafted, and thank you for drafting this. Just go over some of the highlights and maybe what the purpose of this is and, why it's important that the town consider this legislation.
Sure. So at the moment, as you indicated, Mr. Supervisor, we don't have any regulations regarding wireless telecommunication facilities. So we're sort of at the mercy of the companies when they come into our community, and you've seen some of the consequences of that. So as a result of that, we've been able to draft the ordinance that you have before you this evening. It's basically a model that's been employed in many areas throughout the state. This comes from a model that comes from the Department of State, in fact, and it's been modified to enhance it to deal with some of the issues we deal with. So just a couple of takeaways with respect to this. The federal government, through the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996, preempted local communities from dealing with a lot of the regulatory issues we typically deal with when we regulate other land uses. So we don't have any ability to prevent a wireless communication facility from locating virtually anywhere in the community. So what this does is it says, while we acknowledge that, we have priorities, and we would rather you be in non-residential areas. We would rather you be in other areas, and there's a series of 6 priorities. So now when they come to us, they must justify why they are choosing to be in a particular location. So while we can't say no at the end of that, we can make them go through this process. We also don't have any ability to regulate the environmental consequences of these facilities, the radiation impacts and so forth that you've heard about frequently. So what this does is it installs in our code the requirement to comply with the FCC's environmental impact regulations. So again, we are confirming compliance with regulations that have been established elsewhere. The important piece that's come out of this, which is really a local issue, is we have added, through Mike and Rich's input, a requirement for, the one area we have a lot of discretion over is aesthetic impacts. So we had originally put in provisions to provide simulations and models, and this ordinance goes a bit farther than most everyone else's does in requiring actual mock-ups to be constructed. So that's come to you as a result really of the consequences of the funeral home application we had. So now every application that comes from you has to build a mock-up of exactly the size, location, height of where the facility will be. It needs to be up 2 weeks before a meeting, so we can actually see what these things will look like, and we'll have a much better understanding of those aesthetic implications. So
If you don't mind me interrupting, the only reason I ask is I did architecture for a few years and design. Mock-ups can be done in different perspectives to give you different looks. Are there going to be specific standards on the mock-ups that are going to be submitted?
yeah, so the issue that we had before was the electronic versions and the simulations. We're now talking about a physical plywood installation on the roof of the facility. So it will be exact height, size, shape, and theoretically even color. So it's more than anything anyone else does.
It's great.
And they're required to take them down after a period of time and so forth. So it's a very important process. The one thing we have installed in this regulation to facilitate that hierarchy of siting that I said before is if these facilities go in the commercial areas, non-residential areas, on existing towers or existing facilities, there's an expedited process. It's almost an administrative process. That's the incentive to go where we want them to go. If they want to go anywhere else, it's now this 17-page special permit requirement going to the planning board public hearings, so the process becomes the disincentive to go elsewhere. So in short, Mr. Supervisor, that's the ordinance. Again, it's nothing new. It's based on the models that have been adopted elsewhere throughout the state, and the new pieces are additional control of the aesthetic impact through the actual physical modeling.
Pat, I know that what we're doing is taking it a little bit, a couple of steps further, which is all well and good,
Yeah.
and we should be doing that. Have you discussed with Greg about, has there been any consequences when other towns have tried to take those extra couple of steps in relation to, has it passed the muster as far as, court orders?
Yeah, so
and-
the issue becomes,
Because we should do it, and, I just don't want to, yay, we're going to do it, and then all of a sudden, first time it's attempted, we're stuck in court with,
Frank, you're absolutely right. And-
fighting
and
Verizon,
they're well-heeled, and they take every community to court whenever they feel
Right.
aggrieved by these things. So what there is now case law that imposes what's called a shot clock, and it's built into our ordinance. So the shot clock requires us to make these determinations within 90 days. What the carriers have said is, we'll go through any exercise you want, as long as at the end of 90 days, we have our decision. So built into this is the 90-day shot clock requirements, and all of the modeling requirements are being done within the 90 days. By the way, this has been reviewed by some of the carriers, the techniques that have been imposed in there, and they have no problems, provided the shot clock remains in place.
Okay,
So if we do our job rapidly, they'll build the models.
good,
Sounds good.
generally, okay.
So procedurally, Pat, this is forwarded now to the planning board?
Correct, this is a local
their
law.
review?
So it gets a referral over to the planning board will give you its recommendation back, you'll have a public hearing and adopt a local law. It becomes an amendment to our zoning code.
You need a resolution referring it to the
Referring it
planning
to the-
board. They have a 45-day window to comment or to not comment, and then the board afterwards, under your code, can proceed scheduling the public hearing and conducting the public hearings after that.
We've seen this for a long time. We've seen this for a long time. Do we want to do that move now and start that process? Since we're going on break for 2 weeks, it'll be 3 weeks before we meet again. We're 21 days into it. We could be halfway through the 45-day process. Can we ask, we would need her to take a vote, basically, on a special
You
resolution?
can make a motion and consider a motion at any duly
Send it
held
to the
meeting
planning board.
to do that. And if you want to start the clock to do that, you can do it. What I would suggest being that you don't have, supervisor can designate a clerk. But since you don't have the town clerk here tonight, you can do a confirmatory resolution on your next meeting that the motion was passed. but your action.
As of today?
Yes.
Okay.
Dictated
Are you
by
guys
whatever
okay with
do
that?
tonight.
I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Unless we want Annie to take it as you appoint her as clerk, or we could do it 21 days down the road. It's no big deal.
No,
As long as it's good with our attorney and it's clear and it's copacetic.
it's just a referral to the planning board, so it's not like.
I just hate to, because, yeah, no offense, but government moves slow.
So
if
it'll be
we could,
approved retroactively to this meeting, Greg?
The action will be, if you vote to refer to the planning board now, it's 15676, I think is the code section. That's, your action is effective on the passage of the vote.
Right.
I would just, for the purpose of minutes, I would just have a regular resolution referring back to this action tonight at your next regular meeting.
Okay. All right.
All right, so then.
That's fine. Yeah,
So then I
let's
make a
wait.
motion to refer this proposed local law on the wireless telecommunication ordinance to the planning board,
For the
effective
review and
tonight.
and comments?
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'll definitely second that motion.
You second it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Schneider and Councilwoman McDonough. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that good, Greg?
Super.
Fine with you? Okay. All right, yep. Okay, thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that just really opens it up, because public comment's going to be, it's open for public comment the whole time now, right?
It's open for public comment at any point.
Anytime.
You're also going to have a designated public hearing after the planning board review period is done, one
Right.
way or the other.
Right, this just starts the ball rolling.
Starts it.
Starts the 45,
Okay,
that other shot clock.
thank you.
Starts the shot clock.
Sounds good.
Doesn't start the shot clock. It doesn't start the shot.
That
clock.
other shot clock.
A different shot.
That other shot clock, right?
Not
45
the
that
shot
shot
clock.
You attorneys talk about shot clocks, I don't know.
I don't talk about it.
Okay.
Planner
that-
brought it up.
I've never, I don't think I've ever mentioned that word.
Mary Ann knows.
First time for everything.
All right, that concludes the town board work session, all the agenda items that we covered. I'm going to open up the floor to public comment on the agenda items only at this time that we discussed this evening. Any members? Yes, Mike?
Good evening, Mike Borelli. Regarding number 7, Jonathan had a right on the point question. Are you going to weigh, should the engineering department weigh whether to replace all the 4.5 miles of piping together with resealing them? I mean, it should be weighed.
Yeah, yes. He is going to weigh that. They are, the
They are gonna
engineering
do that.
department. Yes, and the operators are going to,
Gonna issue a report.
And Mr. Franzetti said he's been directed by the town, the engineering department, to reach out for bids on this project. Is that correct?
You're
You're going to send out for bids on the project?
that's correct.
On the entire project, even the design phase of the project?
I thought it was pending the
Right. What was,
findings of the report.
what was on for tonight, there was a leak detection study done in the past month or so, based on the complaints. I think what the board's question was, did you do the areas that were the complaints were most common, or did you do the entire system? So I think what you're going to end up doing is having this on a work session again for that consideration and the cost estimates or the relative estimates of replacement or the relining before you authorize anything, because you're not going to authorize the bid to reline it if you want to do the replacement, and you're not going to do either of those things in a concentrated area if you determine it's going to be system-wide.
Right.
Okay? So I think it's going to go back on a work session before you do anything directively.
Second question's answer?
What's that, Mike?
You're asking the engineering department to go out to bid, to get bids.
At some point, they will.
At some point, they're going to
Yeah.
go out to bid.
Right, but not at this point, because they're
Okay.
going to make a determination.
How about for the design of the project? Is that being sent out to bid?
I don't have the answer to that. I would defer to the council or engineering on that, to be quite honest with you, Mike.
Two things. The design work is a professional service. It can be an RFP, request for proposals on the professional service. Your relationship with your engineering consultant is if the project is below a certain threshold, that stays here, that he gets it, the firm gets it. And if it's above a certain threshold, you would do RFPs at whatever level you want for engineering design services.
Okay.
The last similar project that you did was in Mayapack. The project was about $1.5 million. The construction cost was about $1 million. The soft costs were almost $425,000. I don't want to see the same mistake for the taxpayers in the hamlet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else here on agenda items that we covered this evening? Agenda items? Okay, we're gonna move on.
Do you actually mind, because, just because it's agenda items, Mike's here, I asked Mike, there's a lot of work that's going on our roads around the area, and a lot of it's being done by the county that's to the visible, to the public's eye. But I was hoping Mike, while he was here, would give us an opportunity to at least go over the stuff that the highway department's going, and he said, of course, that's what his job is. So,
Yeah.
Michael, thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome, you're welcome. We started in June, we did hot and place recycling. We started up in Carmel, we did Old Route 6. We did Eleanor Drive and Catherine Drive down in Mahopac. We've done Cuddy Road. We've done Greenway Terrace, north and south. We've done, this is all going from memory, we've done Parker and Geimer. We're probably in the neighborhood of, that's probably close to 3.2 miles. We are now doing some drainage. Again, it's been a very wet spring. It kind of threw us anywhere from 21 to 35 days behind. But we are doing extensive drainage down in the lower end of Croton Falls. Valley Road from end to end will be doing drainage. We will be doing drainage on Ernhofer Drive. I have to do drainage on Greenway Terrace North, some of the pipes, after we did this hot and place recycling, which is truly a true and leveling course for the blacktop to go on top of. It exposed the fact that we kind of saw that some of our pipes were not in great shape. So in the binder course now, what I would say is the time you do the work that we have to be done, and once that's done, we will top course that road. In the meantime, we will be top coursing before school starts. We will be doing Eleanor Drive, Cuddy Road. We will be doing Parker Geimer. We'll be doing Old Route 6 for the town roads. As soon as the drainage is finished, which I will have the contractor come back, prior to winter, the rest of the roads will be tied in. So we'll probably be doing close to 7 miles of road and paving.
That's amazing, because for year after year, you've told us that the estimate for how many miles you'd be able to do each year, I believe it was much less than the 7 miles. So it sounds like you guys are doing an exceptional job on really
It's
banging it out in addition to what the county's doing, so thank you guys.
Yes, yeah. And I will have to thank the county, because they've really concentrated on the town of Carmel this year, doing around the lake. They're going to be a
Croton
mill and fill.
Falls.
Croton Falls Road, section part of it. Baldwin Place Road,
yeah,
end to
it's
end. Again,
all over.
You know,
A
so
lot of people have made a lot of comments about the work and are saying, you know what,
We get around the lake.
while we can't take all the credit because the county, they're all happy that, you know what, the reassessment
dollars are
project's
being
taking
spent.
place. I'm seeing what my taxes are paying for, all is kind of good, so thank you.
Yep.
I'm glad that you were here to give an update on all that.
not a problem, not a problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, new business. Open forum portion of the meeting. Any town resident can come up and address the board. Any public comments? Any questions, complaints, concerns? No? Okay. All right, there being none, does the town board have any announcements they'd like to make at this time? Susie, anything? John?
I think we're not meeting again until school starts, right?
Take it away from me.
Is it?
So please, if you
No.
could,
No,
because
this,
that's
we're actually
exactly,
going to be, when this,
the day that it starts
school
is when,
opens on the
yeah.
6th.
oh, well, I'll wait till
6th.
then.
No, I thought that's the day that we're
It
going
is,
to have our
it
next
is,
meeting.
it
We should
is.
talk now about
It
it.
is. Go ahead,
I'll
Frank.
wait till then.
All right.
No, because think about it, they're going to already have school started that morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, isn't the evening in the piazza, is
Oh,
that?
that's right.
That's
You
coming
want
up,
to talk
yep.
about that, Frank? Is it
This
Saturday or
coming
Sunday?
Saturday night,
Is it?
this coming Saturday, the 19th? Yeah, there's an evening at the Piazza sponsored by the Italian-American Club of Mahopac in conjunction with the Columbus Day Festivities Committee. It's all-day event, music, gelato, pizza, entertainment, activities. It's a nice day. We went last year, you and I.
Yeah.
We
Fun
spent
for
some time.
everybody, the whole family.
It's a wonderful event.
Yeah,
And
Gelato?
gelato.
Yeah.
You're buying
That's what I
this
like,
year.
the gelato.
I know, but last year you made me buy
I
for
know.
you.
Well, I'm cheap.
No, I know. This year you're buying a big one. So anyway, we'll see everybody there on Saturday. And I think that's it, right?
Saturday, at what time? Is it
I
2
don't
o'clock?
recall, I don't recall.
2 o'clock, I
off the
think?
top of my- I don't know.
Close to that. There's signs around town.
Yeah.
Signs around
Check it
town.
out by Chamber Park. There's
Yeah.
a sign, I think the Rotary sign by the rink has a.
There's a
There's
sign,
signs.
there's a sign posted at the
Oh, right
Chamber
there at
Park.
the Chamber
And,
Park.
yeah, and a lot of pizzerias and delis. If you're in the area, shop and spend your money in the area, support local business, look for evening in the,
Saturday or Sunday, is it? I'm sorry.
Saturday.
Saturday,
evening in the.
okay. Saturday.
Piazza.
Piazza, okay.
Piazza.
Evening at the
Like
Piazza,
Mike.
okay, thank you.
Mike.
Mike Piazza.
Mike Piazza.
That's one of our sheriffs, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah,
that
it is.
All right.
Paul Piazza. All right, that's it. We don't have executive session tonight, but we will not be meeting here again, Bob, listen to this, until September 6th. Wednesday, September 6th. We'll be back here for a town board voting meeting,
The day that school's open.
okay? So Bob, don't come next Wednesday because you'll be alone.
You can come, Bob, just.
All right, I need a motion to close the meeting.
Moved.
So moved. Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone. Be well.
No comment.
Have a safe Labor Day weekend.